The Meridian flagship Eternal Dawn emerged from hyperspace at the edge of the Sol system, its crystalline hull refracting starlight in impossible patterns. Admiral Vexthor stood at the command center, his iridescent scales shifting from deep purple to azure as he watched the primitive human vessels approach on the main viewscreen. The corner of his mouth twitched in what his species considered a smile, though humans would have recognized it as a smirk. They send these artifacts to greet the most advanced civilization in the known galaxy. He broadcasted to his bridge crew, their neural networks sharing his amusement. The human ships were a motley collection of what appeared to be retrofitted cargo vessels and outdated military craft, their hulls bearing visible wear from solar winds and micrometeorite impacts. What the Meridians didn't know was that Captain Sarah Chen, commanding the apparently decrepit Earth ship Tomorrow's Hope, was orchestrating humanity's greatest deception. The vessel's rough exterior concealed quantum computation cores and metamaterial armor that human scientists had developed in secret over decades, anticipating this very moment. Hold formation, Chen subvocalized, her neural implant transmitting the command to her crew. The retrofitted freighter's exterior might look like it belonged in a museum, but its interior housed technology that would have made the Meridian's crystalline computers look like abacuses. The Meridian fleet, 12 ships in total, each one a masterpiece of alien engineering, arranged themselves in an attack formation. Their sensors swept across the human vessels, gathering data that only confirmed their prejudices. What they detected were fusion drives barely capable of interplanetary travel, primitive radio wave communications, and armor that wouldn't withstand even their lowest-powered weapons. These humans, Vexthor announced to his fleet, have the audacity to claim they're ready for galactic civilization. Let's show them what real power looks like. The Meridian ships activated their energy shields, creating a dazzling display of light and power meant to intimidate. Chen watched the show with careful indifference. Humanity had spent generations preparing for this moment, ever since their first deep space telescopes had detected signs of alien civilizations. While other species had focused on grand displays of technological achievement, humanity had pursued a different path, one of subtle innovation and calculated restraint. The Meridian Admiral's voice boomed across all frequencies. Human fleet, you stand before the greatest civilization in the galaxy. Your primitive vessels insult us. Submit to our authority now, or face immediate destruction. Chen's response was measured, transmitted through deliberately antiquated channels. We come in peace, seeking dialogue. Her words were chosen carefully, each one feeding into the Meridian's sense of superiority. What the aliens couldn't detect were the quantum-entangled communication nodes linking every human ship, carrying encrypted messages that no conventional technology could intercept. They couldn't see the dark matter sensors mapping every detail of their crystalline vessels, or the adaptive defense systems that were learning and evolving with every second of contact. Final warning, Vexthor declared, his flagship's weapon systems humming to life. Submit or be destroyed. Chen allowed herself a small smile. The Meridians had fallen for humanity's carefully crafted image of technological inadequacy. They didn't realize that every scratched hull plate, every seemingly outdated system, was part of an elaborate disguise. The real question wasn't whether humanity could defend itself. It was how much of their true capabilities they would need to reveal. We request time to consider your terms, Chen transmitted, her voice carrying just the right amount of fear and uncertainty. Around her ship, quantum processors were completing their analysis of Meridian technology, while deep learning systems modeled every possible combat scenario. The Meridians' overconfidence had drawn them close, exactly where humanity wanted them. Chen's neural implant registered green status indicators from every ship in the human fleet. They were ready. The only question that remained was whether the Meridians would fire first, or if their arrogance would lead them to draw out this moment of perceived superiority. Either way, humanity was prepared. They had spent centuries being underestimated by their own kind. fighting wars that had taught them the value of deception and the power of hidden strength. Now, they would teach those lessons to the stars. The tension in space crystallized like frost on a window. Admiral Vexthor's patience was wearing thin, his scales now pulsing with irritated red patterns. The human fleet's continued defiance, their refusal to immediately submit, had evolved from amusing to infuriating. "Enough of this charade," he commanded, directing his words to Captain Chen's vessel. "Your delay tactics only postpone the inevitable. We will demonstrate the consequences of refusing Meridian authority." Inside Tomorrow's Hope, Chen's crew maintained their positions with practiced calm. Lieutenant Marcus Wong, her tactical officer, monitored the quantum defense grid through his neural interface. The seemingly primitive sensor arrays on their ship's exteriors masked a network of quantum-entangled particles that provided instant, untraceable communication and perfect positioning data across the entire human fleet. "They're charging weapons," Wong reported, his voice steady. "Primary crystalline arrays showing energy buildup consistent with our predictions." Chen nodded, her mind already connected to the ship's biomechanical systems, another innovation the Meridians hadn't detected. While alien civilizations had pursued purely technological advancement, humanity had discovered the power of merging biological and mechanical systems. Every ship in the human fleet was partially alive, capable of self-repair and instantaneous response to threats. The first Meridian shot came as a blast of coherent energy, aimed at what they perceived as the weakest ship in the human formation. The beam struck the vessel's apparently vulnerable hull and disappeared into a quantum sync field, absorbed completely. Vexthor's scales flickered in confusion. "Impossible," he broadcast to his fleet. "Fire again. Full power." The Meridian ships unleashed a barrage of energy weapons, their crystalline hulls glowing with channeled power. Each shot struck the human vessels, and each disappeared without effect. The quantum sync fields, based on principles of zero-point energy manipulation, converted the attacks into power for the human fleet's own systems. "Now," Chen commanded through the quantum network, "show them what we've been hiding." The worn exterior plates of the human ships began to shift and change. What had appeared to be battle damage and wear transformed into precisely engineered metamaterial surfaces. The ship's true forms emerged, sleek, organic mechanical hybrid vessels that defied conventional physics. By the first light, Vexthor whispered, his scales pale with shock. His sensors were suddenly overwhelmed with readings he couldn't comprehend. The human ships were generating energy signatures that shouldn't have been possible, using principles of physics the Meridians had never conceived. Chen opened a channel to the Meridian flagship, but this time, she let them see her ship's true communication systems. Holographic interfaces merged with organic quantum computers. "Admiral Vexthor," she said, her voice now carrying the quiet confidence of someone who no longer needed to hide their strength. "Perhaps we should discuss more equitable terms." The human ships began to move with impossible grace, their biomechanical systems allowing them to maneuver in ways that made Meridian tactical computers crash trying to predict their trajectories. What had appeared to be a loose, disorganized formation revealed itself as a precise strategic position, surrounding the Meridian fleet in three-dimensional space. "How?" Vexthor demanded. "Your species was barely capable of reaching your own moon a few centuries ago." "We learned early in our history," Chen replied, "that appearing weak while being strong was far more advantageous than the reverse. Every war on Earth taught us this lesson. We watched your civilization, studied your technology, and knew that true advancement meant more than building bigger ships or more powerful weapons." The biomechanical systems of the human ships pulsed with bioluminescent patterns, a display of power that was both beautiful and terrifying. Quantum field generators created ripples in spacetime itself, demonstrating capabilities that the Meridians had thought theoretically impossible. "Your crystalline technology is impressive," Chen continued, "but it's predictable. Linear. You never considered combining organic and mechanical systems, never explored the potential of quantum biology. While you were building bigger ships, we were learning to grow them, to merge consciousness with machinery, to transcend the boundaries between life and technology. The Meridian Fleet's tactical displays were chaos as they tried to analyze the human ship's capabilities. Every scan revealed new impossibilities. Organic computers processing at quantum speeds, hull materials that could alter their fundamental properties, weapon systems that manipulated the fabric of space itself. Vexthor's voice had lost its arrogance, replaced by something approaching awe. "You deceived us. We protected ourselves," Chen corrected. "Humanity learned long ago that broadcasting your true capabilities only makes you a target. We chose a different path, to be underestimated, to advance in secret, to prepare for the moment when we would need to defend ourselves." The human ships continued their impossible dance around the Meridian Fleet, each movement demonstrating mastery over physics that the aliens had never imagined possible. The balance of power had shifted completely, and both sides knew it. Admiral Vexthor's crystalline command center pulsed with emergency signals as his tactical officers frantically analyzed the human fleet's capabilities. Their sensors, previously considered the pinnacle of galactic technology, struggled to make sense of the biomechanical wonders before them. The Admiral's scales had settled into a sickly gray, a sign of deep distress among his kind. But cornered predators are often the most dangerous. "All ships, execute protocol sundering," Vexthor commanded, his voice harsh with desperate resolve. The Meridian Fleet's crystalline hulls began to fragment and reconfigure, each ship splitting into smaller, more maneuverable units. It was their civilization's ultimate military innovation, never before revealed to other species. Captain Chen watched through Tomorrow's Hope's quantum sensors as one Meridian vessel became 3, then 9, multiplying into a swarm of crystalline fighters. Impressive, she transmitted to her fleet through their entangled network. But predictable. The human ships responded by revealing another layer of their deception. What the Meridians had assumed were cargo holds and weapon ports began to unfold like blooming flowers, revealing organic mechanical hybrid drones that merged seamlessly with their parent vessels. Each drone was semi-sentient, guided by both artificial intelligence and the merged consciousness of human operators through quantum neural links. Vexthor's swarm attacked first, thousands of crystalline fighters launching an assault that lit up space with energy weapons. The human fleet's response demonstrated why they had shaped galactic perception of their capabilities for so long. Their biomechanical ships moved like living things, anticipating attacks before they were launched. The quantum sync fields had been merely the surface of their defensive capabilities. Now they revealed gravitational lensing fields that bent both light and energy around their hulls, making them appear to be where they weren't while striking from positions that seemed to defy physics. "Target their command and control nodes," Chen ordered through the quantum network. "Their weakness is centralization. They can't conceive of true autonomous operation." The human drones demonstrated this point perfectly. While the Meridian fighters required constant direction from their parent ships, making their movements predictable despite their numbers, the human drones operated with both individual intelligence and collective consciousness. They adapted in real time, learning from each encounter, evolving their tactics faster than the crystalline ships could respond. Vexthor watched in horror as his swarm tactics, which had conquered dozens of alien civilizations, proved ineffective against the human defense. His fighters couldn't land a single decisive hit, while human weapons, a mixture of conventional energy beams and exotic quantum effects, steadily reduced his forces. "Impossible," he broadcast, his composure finally breaking. "You're violating fundamental laws of physics." "No," Chen replied calmly as her ships continued their devastating defense. "We're operating on principles your civilization never discovered. You were so convinced of your superiority that you stopped looking for new possibilities." The battle shifted as the human fleet demonstrated yet another hidden capability. Their ships began generating quantum field interference patterns that disrupted the Meridian's crystal-based technology. The alien fighters started losing cohesion, their perfect formations falling into disarray as their control signals became scrambled. "Your civilization's greatest weakness," Chen continued, her voice carrying no judgment, only statement of fact, "is your belief that technological advancement must follow a single path. Humanity learned differently. We faced extinction-level threats throughout our history, not from the stars, but from ourselves. It taught us to think differently, to explore every possibility, to never assume we had found the only answer." The Meridian swarm was in chaos now. The crystal fighters, their control signals disrupted, began to drift or move erratically. Some tried to return to their parent ships, while others fired randomly into space. The carefully coordinated attack had devolved into panic. Vexthor watched his tactical displays dissolve into static as the human quantum interference expanded. His flagship's crystalline computers, unable to process the impossible data they were receiving, began to shut down. The sophisticated neural network that connected his fleet was unraveling. "The tragedy," Chen transmitted, her words reaching the Meridian Admiral through increasingly unstable channels, "is that we wanted to share our discoveries. We hid our capabilities not out of fear or aggression, but because we learned that true understanding must be earned through humility. Your civilization's arrogance forced this confrontation." The human fleet's biomechanical drones herded the remaining Meridian fighters away from their parent ships, containing them in quantum fields that neutralized their weapons. The display of tactical precision made it clear that the humans could have destroyed the entire Meridian fleet at any time. Instead, they had chosen restraint, minimizing casualties while demonstrating the futility of continued resistance. As his flagship systems continued to fail around him, Vexthor finally understood the true lesson humanity was teaching. The galaxy's most advanced civilization had been hiding in plain sight, waiting for others to recognize that true advancement required more than technological superiority. It required wisdom. The vast expanse of space around the Sol system had become a graveyard of crystalline fighters, their surfaces dark and inert as humanity's quantum interference fields continued to disrupt their core systems. Admiral Vexthor's flagship, the once proud Eternal Dawn, hung motionless among its scattered fleet, its sophisticated systems reduced to their most basic functions. Captain Chen's voice carried across all remaining communication channels, reaching not just the Meridian ships, but the quantum relay networks that would transmit this message across the galaxy. "What you've witnessed today is not the full extent of humanity's capabilities. It is merely what we chose to reveal." As if to emphasize her point, new signatures appeared on the failing Meridian sensors. Throughout the solar system, hidden installations began to decloak. Massive defense platforms embedded in asteroids, quantum relay stations disguised as comets, and biomechanical sentinel ships that had been invisible even to the Meridian's advanced scanning technology. For centuries, Chen continued, while your civilization focused on building ever larger ships and more powerful weapons, humanity prepared differently. We studied the patterns of galactic civilization, recognizing that technological arrogance would eventually lead to conflict. The human fleet's formation shifted, their ships moving with liquid grace to surround the remaining Meridian vessels. But now they allowed their former adversaries to detect more of their true capabilities. The biomechanical ships weren't just technological marvels. They were part of a vast, interconnected defense network that spanned the entire solar system. Lieutenant Wang's tactical displays showed the full strategic picture. Hundreds of quantum-linked defensive positions, each capable of responding instantly to any threat. "They're seeing it now, Captain," he reported. "Their sensors are picking up the defense grid." The Meridian Admiral's voice, when it finally came, was subdued. "Your deception was complete. We had no idea." "Not deception," Chen corrected. "Protection. Every advancement we made was aimed at preserving life, both human and alien. Our ships aren't just weapons. They're self-sustaining ecosystems. Our defense platforms don't just guard against external threats. They maintain the balance of our solar system. Even now, we're not destroying your ships. We're containing them." As if to demonstrate this point, the human fleet's biomechanical drones began gathering the disabled Meridian fighters, creating secure zones where their crews could be safely evacuated. The quantum interference fields that had disabled their weapons were precisely calibrated to preserve life support systems while neutralizing any military capability. Your civilization measured advancement by destructive potential, Chen explained. We measured it by our ability to preserve life while defending against aggression. The technology you've witnessed today was developed not to conquer, but to protect. Through their failing sensors, the Meridians watched as the human defense network fully revealed itself. What had appeared to be a simple planetary defense system was actually a complex web of interconnected installations. Quantum entanglement allowed instant communication and response across vast distances. Biomechanical systems adapted and evolved in real time to counter any threat. It was a defense grid that made the entire solar system an impenetrable fortress, not through brute force, but through elegant living technology. But how? Vexthor asked, his scientific curiosity temporarily overcoming his military defeat. How did you advance so far without anyone noticing? By understanding that true power doesn't need to be displayed, Chen replied. We developed our technology in harmony with natural principles, learning from Earth's ecosystems rather than trying to dominate them. While other civilizations built artificial systems, we grew organic mechanical hybrids that could think, adapt, and evolve. The human fleet began a complex dance around the contained Meridian ships, their movements revealing yet another layer of their capabilities. Each vessel was not just a single entity, but a collective of smaller, specialized units that could separate and recombine as needed. They were showing the Meridians that their own crystal-splitting technology was merely a crude approximation of what was possible when biology and technology were truly merged. Your civilization's greatest mistake, Chen continued, her voice carrying not triumph but understanding, was assuming that technological advancement must be visible to be real. Humanity learned long ago that nature's most powerful systems are often its most subtle. We built our defenses not to intimidate, but to protect. Not to destroy, but to preserve. Around them, the solar system itself seemed to pulse with life as more of humanity's defense network revealed itself. What the Meridians had dismissed as a primitive star system was actually a carefully cultivated garden of technological and biological harmony, where every asteroid, every comet, every seemingly empty piece of space played its part in a vast, living defense system. The message to the galaxy was clear. Humanity had not just matched the most advanced known civilization. They had surpassed it by following a completely different path of development. Their victory was not just military but philosophical, demonstrating that true advancement came not from dominating nature, but from learning to work in harmony with it. 1 month after the confrontation in the Sol system, representatives from across the galaxy gathered at a neutral space station to witness something unprecedented: the formal recognition of humanity's status as the most advanced civilization in known space. The station's observation deck offered a clear view of both human and Meridian ships, now peacefully anchored side by side. A stark contrast to their recent conflict. Captain Sarah Chen stood before the assembled delegates, her uniform bearing no weapons or medals, just the subtle shimmer of integrated biomechanical interfaces. Besides her stood Admiral Vexthor, his scales now a humble shade of blue-gray, a color his species reserved for moments of profound revelation. The events in the Sol system, Chen addressed the gathering, were not just about military superiority. They represented a fundamental shift in how we must think about advancement. Behind her, holographic displays showed the transformation of human ships from their deceptively primitive appearance to their true biomechanical forms. For too long, she continued, galactic civilization has measured progress by its most visible achievements: the size of our ships, the power of our weapons, the brilliance of our energy shields. Humanity chose a different path, one that our own violent history taught us was necessary. The station's quantum processors projected images of Earth's past conflicts, showing how humanity had learned from its mistakes. Wars that had nearly destroyed their civilization had taught them the value of restraint, the power of hidden strength, and the importance of defensive rather than offensive capabilities. Admiral Vexthor stepped forward, his voice carrying the weight of his recent experience. The Meridian Federation had dominated space for 3 centuries. We believed our crystalline technology represented the pinnacle of achievement. We were wrong. He gestured to a nearby human ship, its hull alive with bioluminescent patterns. What appears simple on the surface may contain depths we cannot imagine. The gathered delegates watched in amazement as the human vessel demonstrated its capabilities, transforming from one configuration to another, each change as natural as a living organism adapting to its environment. The ship wasn't just a machine. It was a living entity, a perfect fusion of organic and mechanical systems. Humanity's greatest innovation, Chen explained, wasn't any single technology. It was our approach to advancement itself. We learned to grow our ships instead of building them, to develop systems that could evolve and adapt, to create technology that worked in harmony with natural laws rather than trying to overcome them. The station's displays showed the extent of Earth's defense network, not as a demonstration of power, but as an example of a new way of thinking about technology. Every component served multiple purposes. Defense platforms that also maintained space ecosystems, communication arrays that helped stabilize planetary orbits, ships that could heal themselves and nurture their crews. But most importantly, Chen continued, her voice softening, we learned that true strength lies not in the ability to destroy, but in the wisdom to know when not to. Every system we developed was designed with preservation as its primary goal. Preservation of life, of knowledge, of peace. The implications of humanity's revelation rippled through galactic society. Other civilizations began to recognize that they had been measuring progress by the wrong metrics. The ability to create ever larger ships or more powerful weapons wasn't advancement. True advancement came from understanding the fundamental patterns of life and working in harmony with them. Admiral Vexthor addressed his fellow delegates. The Meridian Federation's defeat was also our salvation. Humanity could have destroyed our fleet, but they chose to disable and contain us instead. They showed us that true power lies not in domination, but in the ability to protect and preserve. As the gathering concluded, the assembled representatives witnessed one final demonstration. The human ships began to interact with space itself in ways that defied conventional physics, not through brute force, but through an elegant understanding of natural principles. They created stable wormholes without massive energy expenditure, transformed solar wind into useful power, and demonstrated faster-than-light travel that didn't damage the fabric of space-time. This is humanity's gift to the galaxy, Chen announced. Not our technology, but our understanding. True advancement comes not from conquering nature, but from learning to work within its patterns. We offer this knowledge freely to any civilization ready to learn. The message spread across the galaxy. Humanity's apparent technological inferiority had been a choice, a reflection of their understanding that true power doesn't need to be displayed. Their victory over the Meridians wasn't just a military triumph. It was a demonstration of a fundamentally different way of thinking about progress and civilization. As the delegates departed, carrying this new understanding back to their respective worlds, they left with a profound recognition. The species they had dismissed as primitive had actually transcended traditional notions of technological advancement. Humanity had achieved something far greater than military superiority. They had discovered a path to sustainable progress that could transform galactic civilization itself.